Welcome back to the Yes Show. Have you ever dreamed of owning a hotel? I sure have. Most people think that hotel ownership is reserved for millionaires, massive investment groups, and industry insiders. Today's guest is working to change that. I first met Gary when I had the privilege of keynoting Scholar Hotel's leadership conference, and I was immediately impressed by his vision, his entrepreneurial spirit, and his passion for people. Gary is the founder and CEO of Scholar Hotels, a hospitality entrepreneur, investor, and visionary who has spent decades building businesses, acquiring properties, and creating value in communities across the country. What makes Scholar Hotels especially unique is their focus on university communities. Scholar Hotels, get it? Creating hotels that connect with culture, energy, and traditions of college towns. Today, we'll talk about leadership, entrepreneurship, investing, and the power of saying yes, and how Gary is opening the door for everyday people to become hotel owners. Let me tell you, this is cool. Gary, welcome to the Yes Show. Welcome to the Yes Show. I'm your host, Christine Trippi. Each week, we'll explore the life-changing power of saying yes, along with hotel leadership made easy. Get ready for inspiration, fun, and sweet hospitality. Let's go. Gary, let's go back for a minute. You did not start in hotels. You started as an accountant and real estate investor. What point did you realize hospitality was where you wanted to place your bets?
That's a really good question, and I think it's a really good answer because I think what
Oh,
makes hospitality so special and so interesting and challenging is I started out as an accountant. I was a CPA for a while, and that was a great lens that I could look through because I got to see all these different industries, and I really liked my real estate clients the best. And then so I shifted to real estate, but mostly in the real estate I was doing earlier in my career was office buildings, industrial warehouse construction and development, and shopping centers. And so when I started this company back in 2005, we had a chance to buy a hotel, but we were going to tear it down and build office and residential and retail properties. We didn't really want to run a hotel, but the
mm,
hotel was older and tired. It was in a great location on a large site. And so we ended up running into the financial crisis in 08, 09, couldn't get financing. So I was like, okay, let's keep the hotel. Let's figure out how to run hotels. And I hired a management company. And so we got into the hotel business by accident because the financial crisis sort of required us to sort of keep the asset where it was and the way it was. But here's what I learned about hospitality and why in 2016, 2015, we shifted our whole business toward hospitality. There's three things that I get to do in the hospitality business that I don't think anybody else gets to do. First thing I get to do is I get to play in the capital market. So I'm raising private equity, borrowing money from banks and lenders. So I'm putting the financing and capital stack together to either invest or build a new hotel. And so that's a whole business in itself, right? So I
mm,
get to do all that. And then the second thing I get to do is I get to build things, right? We're building a hotel right out of the ground right now, and we're digging a big hole, and I'm wearing a hard hat to the construction site, and we're solving problems and challenges and things like that. And so we get to build things, and sometimes we're building new, and sometimes we're renovating existing and
mm.
and things like that. So that's the second really cool and fun thing we get to do. And then the third thing we get to do, which no other real estate asset class does, is we get to run a real operating business that sits on top of our real estate. And so in our business, we have about 1,000 employees. We're selling rooms and bottles of water and chips at the front desk. We're selling conference services. We're selling weddings and conferences and meetings, Fortune 500 type customers and clients. And so when you look at the gamut of what we get to do, first of all, nobody else in the real estate business gets to do what we do
Mhm.
because they don't have an operating business, right? When you're leasing space in an office building or a
Right.
shopping center, you sign a lease for 5 years and that's it, right?
Boring.
Kind of boring, right? But what's great about hospitality is we have so much more control over our business, right? We can hire great people. We can think through purchasing strategies and sales strategies, and we can think, hey, if we renovate this if we change the door from here to here, we can get more. I mean, there's
Yes.
unlimited amounts of strategy and talk. You just don't do that in the other real estate classes that people do.
Mhm.
And so I think if you're what we do as an owner operator of hotels, we get to do all three of those things. And when you put them all together, it's just a wonderful career. It's a wonderful job. Now, it's challenging, it's stressful,
Hmm.
but man, it's really great. I mean, it's just been, and I think because of those things, we decided, hey, we're good at raising money and borrowing money from banks, right? Things like that. We
Hmm.
like to build and renovate, and we've got great people at our operating platform, and let's let them go do what they do, give them the tools and resources to do what they do, and we can have a great company. And I think the other benefit that we have as an owner operator is 90% of the hotels that we operate, we own. And so
Hmm.
the ownership group and the management group are all the same.
I love that. I hear you talk about it, and in some ways, I would think someone like yourself, potentially out there, that's highly financial and in the real estate business, wouldn't want to deal with any of those things. But you really thrive in it. You love the minutia of it.
I
Yes?
really, and I'll tell you another, I think, not secret to our success, but part of our success is, and this is not a knock against hospitality, but we see ourselves as a real estate investor first and then a
I was going to
hospitality
actually ask
second.
you about this. I loved how you teed this up at the conference.
Yeah. And
Yes.
this is really important because you've seen, I'm sure you've seen this, Christine, in your career. I've seen it in my career, where if someone buys an existing hotel, renovates it, whatever, and they don't make the right deal, meaning they're not paying the right amount of money, or they're renovating over what the property really needs.
Worth, yeah.
If I don't have the right basis in my real estate project, then I'm kind of at a big disadvantage right out of the gate. And so what that means for us is if I've let's say overpaid for my asset,
Asset.
I've overbuilt, whatever the circumstance might be, then I am going to be a disadvantage in the operational side of my business. Why? Because I might not have the money to renovate the hotel when it needs to be renovated. I might not have enough money to pay the best salaries to attract the best people. And so my first goal in doing a real estate transaction is to either build or acquire a hotel at the right financial basis so that I can finance it properly, not borrow too much money or over leverage. And then that gives me the resources, right, to make sure that I've got the capital to open the hotel properly, hire the best people and pay competitive salaries and things like that. So,
Mhm.
and again, we've got an amazing hotel operating team that runs the hotels on our platform every day, general managers, sales managers, front desk managers, housekeeping managers, maintenance and tech people that keep the hotel warm on a cold day and cool on a hot day. Um,
Mhm.
but if we buy right and we invest right, that really carries our investment really well, but it also gives us so much more, let's say, arrows in our quiver, right? We have a lot
Yes.
of tools that we can use, and we have the financial ability to support our team and support the property. And so that's really our first goal when we're looking at an investment.
Yes, and in the introduction, I talked about the communities that you're building. So not only are you just not building office space and people rent from you, you are building communities. All the people that work inside your four walls, they're putting food on the table, they're building careers. Like you get to build this for the communities and for people, and that feels good, doesn't it?
It feels great. And I'll tell you one really good example of how that I think resonates with me and our company. There's two things that are really important to me. The first thing is when first of all, I love to spend time in the hotels. I don't like spending time in my office staring at my computer. I want to be in our hotels, talking to our people, looking around, finding opportunities and things like that. But
Mhm.
when someone comes up to me and says, "Oh my God, you did a great job renovating this hotel. It's so beautiful." I like that compliment. But when
Mhm.
someone compliments me on a staff member, they go, "Oh my gosh, Susie was amazing. She got us checked in and she took care of my daughter." Whatever the story is, a compliment or a shout out about one of my staff members is significantly more important to me than whether I picked the right paint color, or things like
Yes.
that. So that's really the most important thing. And the second thing that we do in our company, and I say this a lot, is we have a bottom up approach, the way we sort of run the company and that we take care of our people. I think the people at the top of the org chart are the least important people in the company, and the
Love that.
people at the bottom of the org chart, and bottom isn't an insult. It's not derogatory. It's just sort
Hmm.
of the way the company structure is. But
Right.
the people that are meeting our guests are greeting them with a smile, right? You talked about that a lot
Mm.
when we got the chance to hear you speak. You know, the that first person that greets that guest when they walk in, the person that's cleaning the guest room, making sure that it's spotless, right? Those are the most important people in our company. And so my job as the CEO of the company is to make sure that they, whether you're a front desk person, a housekeeper, a maintenance manager, whatever,
Hmm.
sales manager, my job is to make sure that you have the resources and the tools so you can do your job effectively. And so that's really important as well. So hearing great compliments about people and the service they're providing, and then making sure that our people, I don't care where you are in the stack, whether you're the general manager or you're the front desk manager or you're a part-time front desk manager, we have to
Hmm.
make sure that these people are trained, they're paid well, that they have good relationships with not only their superiors but also their colleagues. And so we
Hmm.
try to create an environment that supports that. And
Yes,
so
and I felt it through, and especially listening to you speak at the conference, your passion for business and like your business smarts mind, but it was so balanced with the heart, which you don't see a lot. You don't see a lot. There's usually like those numbers people and there's people. But
yeah.
you really exuded both, and that's why I was
Yeah.
so taken by you. So I
No,
just
thank
love
you.
it.
I
And then
appreciate
when I
that.
finally realized scholar hotels, college hotels, college communities, I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So I loved it. So, what makes a university based hotel different from our traditional hotels? And why are you so passionate about that niche?
Yeah, it's a really good story. So the first hotel, so the one I talked about first, which was our first hotel, was in a big
Mm.
market, and it sort of got me in an introduction to the hospitality business. And then our first ground up development was at a big public university, and we built it, and the performance was so much better than we actually thought. But what we saw was people kept coming back and back over and over again, consistently, multiple times a year. So university hotels are great if you're in the right market. So for example, there's
Right.
large public universities.
Hmm.
There's ones that exist in smaller communities, right? So I can give you some examples. Penn State University is in central Pennsylvania, 50,000 students, $1 billion a year in research and development, 1,000 clubs and organizations for students. So there's all these things that are happening on this public university campus,
Hmm.
that drives demand for hospitality assets, whether it's overnight guest rooms, whether it's food and beverage, conference facilities, and things like
Hmm.
that. In this example at Penn State, in this small town in central Pennsylvania, there's not that many hotel rooms. And so,
That's
but
so
the
funny.
university drives a lot of business. And so when we look at that market, we look at consistent and reliable demand, a university calendar that's pretty consistent every year, and when you look at these bigger universities in the smaller communities, we're really busy 11 months a year. So there's this misnomer that, oh my gosh, you must do really great on football weekends, right? Or
Mm.
graduation. But we're busy Sunday through Thursday because there's so much that are happening. A lot
Right.
of
People
people
coming in
equate
to visit the universities, people. Yes, not just mom's weekend.
exactly. There's this old saying like a factory town, right? Oh,
Mm.
there was a steel mill and everybody worked at the steel mill, right? And what happened in a lot of those communities across our country is those steel mills closed and the community really struggled. In our case, we're a factory town, but our factory and any of these college markets, our factory is a $10 billion public university, right?
Right.
And so the thought is a big public university, they're not relocating, they're not going to shut down, they're
Right.
going to continue to grow, and they're going to continue to create economic development for the businesses that are around them. And so we see university hotels as a sort of a subset of the hotel business, but we sell differently in the hotel business, in the university hotel business. Our
Hmm.
customers are different. The cyclical nature of those college markets are different. We have
Hmm.
to hire and staff differently than
Right.
other hotels. Like we have a lot of students that work in our hotels, at all of our hotels, and all the college campuses.
Hmm.
So how do we manage, when they leave,
Schedules
right?
and
Right,
yes.
their class schedule, and then
Mm.
they all leave for Christmas break, and
Right.
a lot of them leave in the summer.
Summer.
So So there's a lot of things that are very specific about university hotels that are different. But for us, we think that it provides significant opportunity. It limits downside risk on the investment side. That's right.
And
So,
actually, I've got some facts for you.
okay, great.
For as a person who's done GSS deep dives through Medallia or the different platforms we have for hundreds and hundreds across the country hotels, okay, hundreds and hundreds of properties. Most people, when I ask them the question, who do you think is harder on you in your guest experience scores, surveys, business travelers or leisure travelers? What do you think
Mm.
everybody says?
I would think people are going to say business travelers, right?
Well, this is interesting because everybody, if you ask an operator, nearly every single person has said leisure travelers, hands down. They're the hardest on you in GSS because they're harder physically on us.
Right.
They don't travel as frequently. They have more questions. They
Right.
actually complain more because it's their money that they're spending.
All right. Now
So
you
that's a
convinced me.
right. But this is the thing. They're not the ones that are hardest on us in GSS. That's what we think. That's why sometimes we have these feelings, but feelings are not facts.
Right.
If you look at the data, hands down, nearly every hotel I have ever looked at, and that's hundreds of hotels, business travelers are less satisfied, sometimes up to 10 points less
Wow.
satisfied than leisure travelers. And
Interesting.
if you think about it, business travelers aren't there for fun. Most people don't like traveling for work. I do, but
I do
some
too.
crazy people don't.
Yeah.
They're away from their family. They had to kiss their babies goodbye. They have all the travel issues, right?
Hmm.
And they're not paying for it, so often they don't complain. They'll just hit you on the
Right.
survey.
Right.
But the good thing about complaining is that I get the opportunity to fix it.
Right.
So and then if I know about it, I'll also, of course, do something special. So you've got that opportunity. So you are 100% solid about that. Usually, leisure people are coming in, they're already happy, they're with their family, they're there for a fun reason. They don't travel a lot, so they're like, oh, these little shampoos are so cute. Huh. So,
Yeah, I think that's right. Especially in a college town, right? There's
yes.
a lot of young people. There's lots of vibrancy. Could be a little bit noisy at night, right? Sometimes people are like, kids are walking around late at night, whatever. But I think most people accept the fact that they're in a college town, and that's what happens. And
Yes,
so
yes.
people tend to
But
lean into it as opposed to away.
yes, 100%. And if you know how to say yes to those noise complaints and whatnot, you can handle those as well as you would a sweet surprise, delivering a sweet surprise. If
Mhm.
you make friends first, when you have to re-guide people,
Yep.
everything changes. So yes, it's all about knowing. And this is the other thing I wanted to say for you, because you've created a niche, instead of just saying, oh, we're going to have a hotel over here and it's in a college town. We're going to have a hotel over here in Florida and it's a Disney town. We're going to have a hotel over here and it's all corporate. You're figuring things out for each market. But because you've chosen to make your hotels college town hotels, now you understand the college town traveler. You
Mhm.
understand the college town employee. Now you know how to do this across the board. You are becoming the expert in college town hospitality. So that's when you really become an expert in your craft. And I love how you're doing that.
Thank you. I
Mm,
think there are very specific things that are different. And so when I talk to
mm,
other hotel operators and we talk about the differences, they're real. And a lot of the people
yes.
that I talk to about it, they're like, wow, I never thought about that. I never thought about how different the sales process is. Never thought about how different the hiring process is and things like that. The other thing that's much, much different for us, and this gets a little bit transitioning into sort of our new capital structure, but
Yes.
when you look at the social media opportunities we have to market our hotels on social media in a
Hmm.
university market is I don't know if it's a million or a billion times better than a traditional hotel. So imagine you have I know you used to work at Marriott Courtyards. Imagine you have a Marriott Courtyard in off of Route 81, you know, in Western Pennsylvania, right? How does that Marriott Courtyard market itself on social media to get people in the door? Well, you don't, right? First of all, if you rely on Marriott for the most part to get
Right.
people in your door. Now imagine that Marriott Courtyard is next to a big public university. Christina, there are millions of people on social media that are so passionate and crazy about this college. So when we market our hotels on social media, we have hundreds of thousands of eyeballs looking at us because
Mm-hmm.
there's a million people on LinkedIn that follow a university. There's 400,000 people that follow a university or the university's football team or basketball team or their arts and theater program, and each of those different buckets in the university have their own Facebook page and Instagram page, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when we target our advertising through social media, we are hitting every eyeball that loves that university town. So the power we have on social media is exponentially more powerful than any other traditional type of hotel. And so that's something that we lean into really heavily as well.
Yes, which
Yeah.
is an amazing advantage.
It's just something that a lot of people don't think about. And so,
Mhm.
we started marketing this new capital offer, which I'd love to talk to you about.
Yes.
But one of the reasons we thought we could be successful at it is because we knew that we could reach the people
Mhm.
that are crazy about the university that we're marketing it to,
Yes.
and that we know that they're on social media all the time, right?
Yes.
And
When you
so,
are tapping into super fans,
yeah, exactly,
there's
exactly.
no limits. Yes. So, Gary, this is what I really want to get into. I
Yeah.
want to talk about this juicy new yes that you have created for not just your company, but for the world. Tell us about this first of its kind. Am I right? First of its kind?
I think so. So
Okay.
I'll take on any debaters on that issue, but yes, I think it is.
Okay, we'll call
Yeah.
it a first of its kind
Yeah.
hotel ownership investment platform that allows everyday people to become hotel owners. So tell us, how does it work and why did you decide to open the door to non-accredited investors? I can't wait to share
Yeah.
with us.
It's a big question. It's been something we've been thinking about for a while. And so again, I think this is really specific to university hotels. I don't think I could do this if it wasn't a university hotel that has this big passionate community
Super
that
fans.
super fan. I'll use
Mm,
that's a really good term. I'll use that.
yeah.
So this is specific to Penn State University in central Pennsylvania and State College, Pennsylvania. We own 6 hotels in that market, soon to be 7. We're building our 7th right now. And 5 of them are hotels that I own with my investor partners. 2 I own with a big institutional capital fund. So we're focusing on the 5, not the 7, excuse me. And
Yes.
so we've had these hotels, some of them for up to 10 years now. And my investors, it's time for them to move on. Like most real estate private investments, there's usually a 7 to 10 year life, and the investors want to recapture their capital and then use that for something else. Well, when you look at university hotels, we see them as what we call generational type assets, right?
Mm,
Sort of this what I said earlier about Penn State and any big public university not going out of business, not relocating. And so if you've got an asset within close proximity to that university, it's sort of like having a beachfront property, right?
mm,
Take the beach out of the picture and put the college campus in. Those
right.
hotels that are close to that demand driver are always going to do better. It's sort of location, location, location. So we said to ourselves, well, our current investors want to get out of the investment, but we know there's these hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people that love this university. Why don't we open the investment to them, let them buy into the investment, and then take our old investors out? So what we said was, let's do what's called a Regulation A, SEC approved investment that allows
Mm.
us to market the investment to non-accredited investors. And so a non-accredited investor
I was going to say,
isn't,
explain that. Yes.
yeah. So the government says, hey, there's 2 types of people out there that make investments. Some are a little bit more sophisticated. They're more experienced in making investments, and some people are not. And that's not a knock on anybody. It's just the way the
Hmm.
government looks at it. So the government puts these people in 2 categories, accredited and non-accredited. So if you're an accredited investor, you make over the numbers change year to year, and it depends if you're single or married, but you have to make, let's say, in excess of $300,000 a year, and you have to have a net worth of over $1 million outside your primary home. And so if you fit that category, you can invest in private investments, real estate, and other types of investments without any government oversight. And the people offering you that investment don't have to have any government oversight either. So you can just start dialing the phone and asking people what they want to do. If they say they're accredited, then you can bring them into the investment. Now, if you want to target non-accredited investors, which are people that don't have those thresholds,
Hmm.
the
Like
SEC,
me.
like you or anybody, listen, not that's a big threshold for
It was a
most
big
people.
that. Yes,
And
yes.
so
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 for regular average people who
for
would love
regular
to be
average,
a hotel owner.
yeah. And so if so you don't have to meet any of those requirements. Now, the SEC and the government make it a little bit more difficult for us, right? So we have to prepare our offering documents,
Mm.
prepare our financial projections and everything, submit it to the SEC for review, and they approve us and they say, "Okay, you've done everything you're supposed to do. You're approved." And then you can go offer the investment. And so we now have out on the street a Regulation A offering to non-accredited investors to take the ownership of these five assets, and they will then be the owners. Our company will still operate them, but
Hmm.
they will get the benefit of being next to a major public university. And on top of that, Christine, we're really marketing this to the people that love this university,
Hmm.
right? They are just most passionate people about the school, the sports programs, the students, whatever part of the university they're connected to. And so we're selling this or offering this to that pool of people that are mostly they probably stayed in one of our hotels already. They visit three
Yes.
or four times a year. And so
Yes.
what we did was not only do we think it's a good investment, but they have to decide for themselves. They have to read all the disclosures and read all the numbers. They have to make their own decision. But what we also did was we put a hospitality program around the investment. So if you invest $5,000, not only will you get an annual dividend, but you will get real benefits when you come to stay at the hotel. So that could include early check-in, late checkout, room upgrades to suites, better views, things like that, dining
Hmm.
discounts at our bars and restaurants. And so by packaging a hospitality benefit program around the investment, we've created sort of a investment slash hospitality program and blended them together. And again, these are people that are going to come see us 4 or 5 times a year, and they're going to get the benefit of those programs. The school just had its graduation in the beginning of May. We hadn't launched the investment yet, but we were getting people knew about it, but we were getting phone calls and emails. I want to make an investment for my son or daughter. They're graduating because they wanted their son or daughter to one get I guess get the dividends from the investment, but they
Hmm.
wanted them to get the hospitality benefits because here you have a 21 or 22-year-old who's probably going to come back to their college town for the next 50 years,
Right.
right? And
I
so
love
imagine
that.
imagine every time that young lady or young man shows up, we're going to welcome them. This gets back to what you taught us, Christine. When you greet them at that desk, when they come into the building, we're going to know who they are.
Hmm.
Thank you for coming back. Thank you for being our investor partner. Thank you for being part of this investor community. And by the way, you please take advantage of our late checkout. Please don't forget about your dining discount. And we've upgraded you to a high floor room so you can see the football stadium from your window.
Hmm.
And so hospitality is about giving people great experiences. And
Right.
so we're going to take this investor group and sort of give them an elevated experience when they come back to the hotels that they actually own a piece of. And so
Yes.
it's a really interesting investment model, but it's also an interesting hospitality model. And what makes it even more interesting, so there's really three things. One, it's a
Okay.
Reg A non-accredited investor. Two, we put this hospitality program around the investment. And three, we're really targeting this community of passionate, crazy Kool-Aid drinking people that
Yes.
love the university. And again, some people love the university because the education they got. Some people love the university because of the football team or the basketball team or the wrestling team, whatever it
Or
might
they
be.
met their wife
They met their
or
wife there.
husband.
Right. They love the theater program. Maybe they were in the marching band, and
Yes.
that's a big program as well. So
Big.
so we're hitting all those different pieces. So we think this is probably, and I'm just guessing, when someone says, "Do I want to do this?" 25% of their brain is saying, "Should I make the investment?" 75% of their heart is saying, "Oh my gosh,
Yes.
I could own a piece of this hotel. I stay there all the time
Hmm.
and I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm walking on campus. I feel like I'm back in college, right? It brings these emotions and these feelings up, and that's what we're trying to tap into because it's real. It's real,
Yes.
and so this is so essentially, like you said, we're turning the keys over to the hotel to the people that already love them,
Hmm.
and if we
Yes.
can if we can do this successfully, I think we've sort of changed not only the investment side of the hotel business, but also the idea of what hospitality is all about.
Hmm.
And so,
And being able to have a piece of it for
yeah.
especially for people who would not have the opportunities like that to be able to have a piece of something like that, I think is so special. And honestly, when it comes to the super fandom part of it, I mean, I don't think you're going to have enough opportunities for people. I think it's going to be
I,
so gangbusters
I hope you're right.
that
Yeah.
I really do. When you talked about this at the conference, I was just so smitten with it all. And I want to ask you about this too. Did you hear about the Spirit Airlines 2.0?
I have. I
Okay, I
have.
totally signed up for that
Right, right.
immediately. Now it didn't go through and everything, but this kid, he the things he did to make this happen overnight was just amazing. But when you talked about it, it kind of reminded me about that.
Yeah,
His whole idea was, hey, Spirit Airlines just went down. If we all contribute basically the cost of one airfare, we could all own it together. I mean, he
right.
came this close to making it happen. It was so cool. But
And
when you started talking about it, it reminded me of that. Is it somewhat
it is. And
similar?
that's
Okay.
what I'm saying. We're sort of, you know, listen, there's lots of parts to the hospitality business, right? The investment
Yeah.
side, right? We have to raise money. We have to borrow money from banks. How do we convince people that this is a good investment? Then there's the operating side, right? I tell people in our company, if we don't have good results at the hotels, I have nothing to talk about.
Right.
I
Right.
can't go raise more money or buy more hotels or develop more hotels. So ultimately, it's the people on the ground in the hotels that are creating the value within the company. But yeah, this Reg A concept, which is relatively new, is
Yeah.
creating the opportunity for, like you said, regular folks to own these types of investments. Typically, private real estate investments. When I raised money previously, minimum investment is $250,000.
Right.
And you have
That's why at the conference I was like, what would be the
right. So you have to be accredited, and
Yes.
the minimum is $250,000. And so that is not for everybody.
Right.
And so, but what's great about hospitality? This, and again, Christine, someone asked me a question and said, well, why don't could you do this with student apartments, right? Same college town, right?
Right.
Same, passion for the community. Could I do the same thing? And I said, maybe. And here's why. So let's say I was doing the same thing with, I owned 1,000 student apartments at this college town. And I said, all right, everybody that went to this college, invest with me in these student apartments. It's probably a good investment,
Mhm.
probably, right?
Yeah, I would
But
think.
guess what? When you come back to town, to your college town, and for a
You can't
visit,
stay there.
you can walk by it and look at it. Wow, I own a piece of this apartment building. But guess what? You can't sleep in it. You can't drink in it. You can't
Right.
hang with your friends, right? You can't do all those
Yes.
things. And that's why it works so, so well with
Yes.
hospitality, because it's just the people that are going to invest in this are going to people that already love us and already love the
Mhm.
community. They've stayed in the hotels.
Yes.
Um, they know, it's just their community. And that's what's so special and so
Mhm.
magical
Yes.
about these
It
markets, these college
completely
markets.
enthralled me, and I'm not the super fan. I don't have the emotional connection to that. So, like, I've
Right.
just the opportunity part of it was thrilling to me.
Yeah.
So I couldn't wait to bring you on and talk about it. So let's
Yeah.
simplify this real quickly. So basically, you have five hotels near the Penn State
Hmm.
area, college town.
Yep.
And the lowest investment you can contribute would be $5,000, which would make you a partial owner in these five hotels.
Yep.
You would receive dividends, plus you would have a hospitality benefits that would exude an ambassador membership at Marriott.
Similar, very similar. Yeah.
Right?
It's a similar strategy, right?
Yes.
Listen, you made a commitment and you invested with us,
Mhm.
and we're gonna sort of give that back to you in an enhanced hospitality program.
Experience,
So
yeah.
you're gonna benefit from that.
Now,
Yeah.
I wanted to get to that too. So again, the lowest you can contribute more if you want, right?
Yes.
But
There's
the
no cap. No
lowest
cap.
amount is $5,000.
Hmm.
And then that plus your hospitality program, and that makes you part owner
Hmm.
in these five hotels. And then what would be the potential gain of that? What would be the potential earnings of their dividends and whatnot? Tell us
Yep.
a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So if you look at our offering documents, we believe dividends are going to be somewhere between 4% and 6% a year.
Okay.
And so, but that's projections, right? That
Hmm.
financial information is in the offering document. So each investor has to look at it and decide whether they think that's accurate or not, right? They have to make their own decision. So let's call it a 4 to 6% annual dividend. And again, for the first few years, it'll be sheltered from taxes because we get to depreciate the building. So
Hmm.
the buildings will actually probably have losses on paper losses, not actual losses, that will shelter the income from taxes for the first few years. And so it's equivalent to, let's say, a fixed income money market account or something like that. Now,
Okay.
it's a little riskier, right? Because you own real estate and you own hotels. It's not as safe and secure as a money market account, but the returns would be at or better than that. So
Nice.
that's our goal. So we intend to send dividends out either quarterly or semi-annually, depending on how the flow of cash works.
Hmm.
And then every quarter, the investors will get a report on how the hotels are performing, and we'll give all that information. And then, we'll probably have either once or twice a year, we'll have a video webinar where all the investors can come on and we'll talk about the investments, how they're performing. They can ask questions. So it's going to be a very interactive process as well. And
Right.
we're going to make sure that we stay in front of the investors and explain what's happening. And here's the other thing that I would say, and I think this is important. Hospitality, there's cycles in the world. Sometimes
Hmm.
hospitality assets perform really well, and sometimes they don't. Now, I would make the case that in a university town or a college town, they're a little bit more insulated from the ups and downs of the general
Of the
economy.
economy. Yeah.
So I think these assets are a little more protected from that.
Hmm.
But there may be times when the hotels aren't performing as well. But we think over the long run, especially in a college town where we're
Yeah.
supported by these big universities, that they're going to continue to perform well into the future. But sometimes we have to talk about maybe things that didn't go as well as we'd
Hmm.
like. And so the transparency is really important to us. And we'll be disclosing, and we're required to disclose everything, obviously under SEC regulations. The investment's going to have a full annual audit by an independent accounting and auditing firm. So the investors will get those reports as well. So everything's very tightly knit into the investment, and the regulation, the oversight, the compliance that we have to comply. We have to issue semi-annual reports to the SEC about
Hmm.
the investment. And so there's a lot of good checks and balances that I think the investors should feel really good about.
It's such a cool thing. When does it begin? When are you officially laying this out?
Yeah, so we launched a week ago
Oh,
today.
you did?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So we got
So
approved
people
by
could, if they're interested, could
yep. So
pursue this.
it's a pretty easy process. So
Okay.
we got once we got approved by the SEC, we were allowed to sort of launch our website. And so you can go to our website, you can register, and that'll
Okay.
take you into an investor portal where if you give it, you just register your name, your email address, stuff like that. And then you'll have access to all the documents. So it's
Okay.
a 100-page offering document, things like that. If you want to read it, you can. We also have like a marketing presentation that walks you through the investment as well, which is a
Okay.
little bit easier to read, more graphs and charts and things like
Hmm.
that. So that's all available. The website's scholarhh.com because
Okay.
the,
I'll
the
also
form
put it in the show notes for
oh,
everybody.
great. Yeah, the
Hmm.
formal name of the investment is called Scholar Hospitality Holdings.
Okay.
And so we have a website at Scholar HH, or you can go to scholarhotels.com as well, and you can have a link there. So essentially, a potential investor can go to the website, register, and then once they register, they can get access to the investor portal where all the legal documentation is, and they can read through that. And then if they like what they see, they can hit the Invest Now button and then register, which you have to provide more information.
Hmm.
And then you can send your funds in, and then once we have enough money, we'll close the investment, and then you'll be the owner.
So it's so cool. I
Yeah,
I love this whole concept. I love it. I think it's going to be gangbusters,
I
and
hope
I'm so
so.
excited for you.
Thank you.
So to pivot really quickly, just in general, I think if you're a hotelier, there's not been, I don't think a hotelier out there that hasn't dreamed of owning their own hotel and running their own hotel. I think it's just all of our dreams, a little bed and breakfast or something like that. Tell us really quickly, what is a misconception like to me growing up like that would be so like crazy dream, you know what I mean? What is a misconception most people think about being a true hotel owner?
Oh, that's a good one. I think I'm gonna say there's probably two big misconceptions.
Okay.
Most people that don't understand the hotel business, right? When they walk into a Marriott Courtyard or a Hilton Garden Inn or a Hyatt place, if you ask them, most of them think that Hyatt owns the hotel.
Yes.
Most of them think that everybody in the building works for Hyatt or Hilton or Marriott. And the reality is that those companies, any of the hotel companies, don't own much real estate at all. That most of the real estate is owned by local investor entrepreneurs, companies like ours, and that
Hmm.
the people that work in the hotel are employed by our company, and that the
Hmm.
brands are just franchisors, and they do a great job with it. They're our marketing arm. There are guest loyalty programs, and all they provide a tremendous amount of value to us. But I think that's one misconception. So when I sometimes I'll tell people, "Oh, we own a Hyatt, we own a Marriott, we own a Hilton." Like, what do you mean you own it?
Wait, yeah,
Don't they own them? No, I'm like, no, no,
yes,
no, no, that's not how it works. So I think that's the one misconception that I constantly have to talk about, which is a very interesting because people are very surprised by it. The
yes.
second thing is you know, people have a romantic relationship with hotels. You know,
Hmm.
oh my God, people love hotels. And that's what's so great about our business, right? But they forget about all the work that has to happen behind the scenes, right? You
Yes.
know, we have to wash dishes, we have to mop floors, we have to
Clean
do a lot.
toilets.
We clean toilets, we have to do a lot of laundry. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of hands-on work that has to get done so that they only see the romantic side of the hotel, right? And so that I think that's also something that if you want to own a hotel, whether it's a 3 room bed and breakfast or a 100 room Marriott Courtyard, you might find yourself cleaning toilets one day.
Yes, it's a lot of work. Two things I want to
Yeah,
share on that.
yeah,
One, when you talked about the misconception, that goes two ways. I think many small management companies miss the boat in this as well because I remember early on my career working for the Hampton Inn. I thought I worked for the Hampton Inn. I
right,
did not work for the Hampton Inn. The Hampton Inn did not cut my checks.
right.
This management company did. I think management companies often miss a piece there where they don't onboard well enough to know this is who we are and this is who you work for.
Hmm.
So I think that's a missed piece a little bit because a lot of employees think they're working for Hyatt.
Right, right.
They don't understand that difference too.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for the culture for you to, if you're a management company, to exude that and to really show them who we are and this is who you work for.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think we do a relatively good job of that in our company. We have some great HR professionals that do that work, but yeah, it's really important.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And then it's funny because when I got into hotels, I mean, literally was in high school, I was 17, and I just thought, when I had to look for a job for the work program, I had already worked in Ponderosa, but I was looking for this job because they said something you would want to do as a career. And I said, well, I just think it would be so romantic to work for a hotel.
Right, right.
But I have to say, that was my impression of working in a hotel. But I will say, nearly 40 years later, the romance is still a bloom.
It really is. And I use that word carefully, right?
Yes.
But it really is, hopefully when people leave, when their stay is over, they feel good
Hmm.
about the place they just stayed at.
You've created an
And
emotional connection.
it's really, really important. And I think for us in university hotels, it's a little bit easier for us, right?
Hmm.
Because they already kind of love the place they're in already. And so
Yes.
that makes it a little bit easier for us. It's just a wonderful business for us to be in that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like even like when you're in a Disney location,
Hmm.
because people are coming there to make that magical moment that their kids will remember forever and all that. And it's just special being a part of it. It's so special.
I
Yeah.
can remember one quick story. The first hotel that we bought that we ended up keeping because
Hmm.
instead of tearing it down, I went to my first hotel owners conference
Okay.
for that brand. And our hotel that we bought was kind of tired. It needed work. It wasn't in a great part of town. And so it performed okay, but it
Hmm.
wasn't certainly one of the best performers in the brand. So I go
Hmm.
to the hotel conference and I'm sitting in an owner's meeting and they're talking about the the hotel that they had right across the street from Disney World.
Mm.
And they go, the guest scores at this hotel are the best in the brand, and you guys need to look at this hotel and try to compete with them. I'm saying to myself, how do I compete with the happiest place on earth? Because when those people walk into that hotel and they see Disneyland or Disney World, excuse me, Disney World, not Disneyland,
Yeah. Yes.
out their window, I can't compete with that.
Yes. Yes.
And so it
Yes.
always reminded me of like, you know, you have to, every hotel's different and you have to make
Yes.
your own You have to make your own happiness inside that hotel. So,
Well, that is funny too, because my little courtyard that was needing a renovation in a very depressed area outside of
mm,
Chicago.
mhm.
And I remember when we were on this trajectory up with no renovation or anything, all through heart and soul and love, and good processes. I remember we surpassed all our goals and we were ranked the 45th out of 1,000
Wow.
courtyards. Okay.
Wow.
And at this point, I said, we just beat Hawaii. There's nobody that's not
Right.
happy in Hawaii.
Right. Exactly.
And
Right.
so then at that point, I said, well, the only goal left is to be the best in the world. So let's go for it, guys.
Right. 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 Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
But that
Okay.
was so funny. Like this marker for me was if we beat Hawaii, I mean, there's nothing we can't do.
You're not kidding. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's even a better analogy, I think.
Yeah. No, no, I don't know if it's better, but it's pretty
It's good.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
pretty
pretty
good.
cool.
That's great.
So looking back at your incredible career thus far, what yes do you wish you had said yes to sooner?
Sooner. So I came up through the investment construction side of real estate and then hotels and sort of have sort of leaned on my partners and colleagues in my business on the operating side. I wish I
Mhm.
would have said yes to sort of inserting myself into operations sooner
Mm,
than I did because I said, all right, I'm an investment guy, I'm a construction guy, we'll let them handle it. But
right.
I think I realized too a little bit later than I would have liked that it's so interconnected, right? Remember I said we're a real estate company first, hotel
Yes.
second? You know,
Hmm.
so now when we build here's a good example of what I learned by not saying yes soon enough was now when we're building a new hotel, so we're building a brand new hotel, $70 million hotel right now. My operating team, the people that are going to run that hotel are in meetings with us now during construction
Love it.
because I want them to sign off on, okay, where should the front desk be? What about the loading dock? How are we going to bring stuff in and bring it, laundry chute down to the laundry room, all those
Right.
types of things. So one of the things I learned a little bit too late, I wish I would have done this on my first few developments, was
Hmm.
bringing my ops team in from the beginning. They need to be involved in how the hotel is designed. They need to be involved in challenges that happen during construction to make sure we don't change anything that are going to impact their ability to operate effectively. And so
Yes.
the operating team's impact on design and construction is critical. I wish I would have done it sooner.
Yes, that is such a smart answer. I remember we were opening up Key Lime Cove Water Resort, and I was fighting with them like, we have to have an open front desk. We have to be able to come out and talk to people and shake hands and everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, the plan's all this. I'm like, what can we do?
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, you're exact. That's such a smart answer. Yeah. So anybody listening right now, if you're in the beginning of this journey, blend it
Blend.
sooner.
And that's one
Yes.
of the things we can do as an owner operator, right? But even if you are building a hotel and you have a third party manager that's ready to jump in, bring
Hmm.
them in sooner. Just you can do
Yes.
it. You don't have to be
Listen.
our structure. Yeah. Yep.
Right, right,
Really
right,
important.
right. And
Yeah.
Gary, what is your next yes on the horizon?
Well, my next yes is to hopefully raise this capital.
Yes, I know
And if
you
we,
will.
so our next yes is if we're successful doing it here, we're going to try to do it in another college town.
Okay. Okay, I
So
love that.
we've already said that yes. We've said yes. If it works here, we're going to do it somewhere else.
Okay, love that.
So
Anything I know right now you're on vacation. Look at he's taking the time out of his vacation to come and talk to us. Isn't it so sweet? He's staying at an auto camp,
yep,
which
I'm
is
in
so
the
exciting because I'm going to be staying at one soon too.
yep,
Show everybody if you
I'm in
can.
the
Can you show?
well, it's a little bit messy, but
Okay,
I'm
that's
in an
okay. Don't
auto
you?
camp in Catskill, New York, and so it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no mess. It's
yeah,
no mess. It looks beautiful.
yeah,
It's such a cool idea. So
yeah.
I'm excited
It's
to
very
try something
cool.
new
I
too.
really like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other fun adventure for yourself personally? You're saying yes too soon.
I just hit a big milestone birthday
Oh,
back in December. And so because as I'm looking at sort of my career, trying to find ways to work less and maybe slow down a bit, try to give more responsibility to some of the younger folks in our company and bring them up a little bit quicker. So I'm saying yes to that.
I love that. That's amazing. And can I ask what's the date of your birthday?
December 9.
Oh, I'm the 11th.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
There you
yes,
go.
that's why I
Well,
said.
we're right at the
Yeah.
same spot. Sagittarius, right?
Yes, Sagittarius. And I could tell you're a total Sag. All right, Gary, my friend, this has been such an enlightening and awesome conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time. But right now, it is time for the one question. I'm going to ask you a question from our last guest, and then I'll have you give us a question for our next guest. Sound good?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. I love Jelani's question, and it is, if you were given two first class tickets anywhere in the world, where would you go and who would you bring?
I would probably go to Hawaii
Oh,
because
okay.
I've never been to Hawaii,
Oh, okay.
and so it's a place I really want to go. And I have one extra ticket,
Yes,
so I'd have to bring my wife.
of
Not
course.
not
For
that I don't
Hawaii,
want
you have to
to.
bring Honey Bunny.
Yeah, because then I probably wouldn't be married if I didn't bring her after that.
Yes, yes.
So,
Oh, that's fantastic. I know
well, thank you.
one of mine was Japan, and we are going, and I'm
Oh,
bringing
great.
in Honey Bunny in October. That's our big trip this year.
I've been to Japan. It's amazing. What an
Okay.
amazing place. Amazing. You'll love it.
I
You'll
can't
love
I
it.
can't wait.
Yeah.
I've been working on being quieter.
Yes. Yes.
I've got to work on being
The
quiet.
very calm and quiet people in a good
Yes.
way. In a good way. In
Yes,
a good
yes,
way.
yes.
Yes.
All right, what is your question for our next guest?
So I thought a lot about this, and
Okay.
my question is, when was the last time you had to step back and do the things you did when you first started your career? So,
Well,
for example, I'm the CEO of the company. I wash dishes, I bus tables if it's needed. And so sometimes when I'm bussing tables or washing dishes, I say to myself, holy cow, how did I get to do this, right? But
yes.
ultimately, we'll do anything to be successful and we'll do anything to make sure our guests have a great experience. So I'm wondering, as someone goes through their career, do they find themselves back doing something that they didn't think they'd be doing? When was the last time that happened?
Yes, I even was just talking to a general manager who said, "Oh, I had to pull the audit shift last night. It's been a long
Right.
time since I've had to do
Exactly.
that."
Yep.
Yes, so
Yeah.
that's a great question. I can't wait to ask our next guest. And
Okay.
if you're
Great.
out there, that's a great coffee chat conversation to have today during lunch or something.
I think you're right.
Awesome. So, Gary, one more time, they can reach out to you, connect with you on LinkedIn. They
Yes,
can also
please.
go to your website, which tell everybody again. I'll also put in the show notes.
Yeah, scholarhotels.com is
Mhm.
our company website. And then you can go to scholar HH, two H's, HH.com if you want to learn more about the investment opportunity.
Perfect. And this is kind of a surprise question. So if you don't have it offhand, don't worry about it.
It's
But
okay.
I just thought we might have a lot of general managers on listening. Are there any open general manager positions in Scholar that you're recruiting right now?
We're always recruiting for great general managers, so I'd love to
Okay.
hear from them as well.
Yes, perfect. Okay,
Always.
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, it was a pleasure presenting for your team.
Yes,
I'm
thank you.
honored to have done that. It's a pleasure talking with you today and learning more about the opportunity. I know it's going to be gangbusters,
I hope
and
so.
I can't wait to hear more.
Christine,
The update.
Christine, your energy is contagious, and we loved hearing from you. We're still talking about it,
Yay.
and your book is great. And so, thank you for all you're doing for our industry and sharing this positivity. We really need it. So, thank you.
Yes, we do need it.
We
So
do.
thank you for contributing.
Thank
You
you.
go and enjoy your vacation with your honey bunny, and thank you again for being here.
Have a great day.
Thank you. That's a wrap for today's show. Say yes to taking action and changing the world one yes at a time. And oh, my friend, will you say yes to review, like, and subscribe? The more yeses you give, the more juicy goodness I can bring to all of you wise pineapples. Cool or cool?